The hindrances.
For me, the best advice that helped myself boost my communication skills.
For the benefit naman ng students.
Implementing pure modular distance learning. So,
The hindrances that I have encountered when communicating is interpretation. Because when communicating, you have to express what do you want to say. You have to express what is your goal, and you have to know who are your audience. Now, we have different perspectives. We have different beliefs. So, those beliefs and those guidelines that we have for ourselves, sometimes we misinterpret the thing that we convey to our audience. They misinterpret us. At the same time, when they have their feedback, we misinterpret it somehow. So those are some of the hindrances that I have encountered so far. And at the same time, noise. Unnecessary noise can give me some additional information, unnecessary information. And sometimes noise can be a barrier whenever I want to say something, whenever I want to hear something. If there is unnecessary noise, I cannot understand what I am about to listen to.
Ang isa sa nakakasagabal o hadlang hindrances to me is the environment. Why environment? Kasi minsan may maingay, may mga neighbor ako maingay, minsan animals. So communication ay hindi natin maibigay kung ano yung gusto kong iparating, instruction to my dear students. So yun, isa yun sa aking hindrance. Pangalawa ay connections. Sabi nyo nga kanina, kapag mobile data, minsan hindi naman co-teacher ka, you are blessed with technology kasi minsan nakaka-problem din kami sa linya ng aming Wi-Fi.
There are so many barriers when it comes to communicating. Growing up being an introvert, one of the things that bothers me when communicating with someone, mostly to strangers, are when I feel like they have a lack of interest on what I'm saying. And when I feel like socially anxious, it is really hard to express your thoughts at a local table when you feel like the words that came out from your mouth is not interesting enough for them to be heard by. So the other side of me starts concerning about what if they don't like the things what I'm saying, what if they don't pay attention enough, or what if like this or this.
Siguro yung common na hindrances kung bakit nagkakaroon ng ineffective communication and the field of experience. Sometimes, you talk to someone and then you don't have the same wavelength or the same idea of that certain word. Like, words like, the double meaning, or sometimes it's redundant, mga ganyan. Depende dun sa kausap mo. Like, for example, yung field niya, iba dun sa field mo, kunwari, sa career or sa course na lang, para yung word na interest, iba sa edo. Pero sa BSA, iba yung word na interest. So yung mga ganung situation, yun yung feeling ko nagiging hindrance kapag hindi parehas na field of experience or exposure dun sa certain words, nagiging ineffective yung communication.
since we are implementing pure modular distance learning, so we don't have much interaction with our students. So we don't get an instant answer from them. Most of the students are shy, or let's say are not comfortable enough to speak in English. I allow them to speak in Filipino language or our dialect. So given that situation, I ask them to speak in Filipino, but they will still translate it in English. Little by little, we can ask them.
I'll try to speak up. Isa yun sa gusto kong i-input sa inyo. try to speak up. Don't be shy. Kasi sometimes, pag sinabi kasi natin English is English ang mode of communication. Minsan nahihiya mga batang sumagot ng English kasi for them, they are not fluently speaking in English. But for me, sabi ko, try to speak up kasi kahit mali yan, I'm not going to judge you.
Kung ano mismo yung sinasabi nila, tinuturo nila, doon kami nag-debate. Yun yung inspiration namin. Sila yung nagiging model.
The impact of communication in that part would be if the teacher is not that good in communication or we don't have a good communication, of course, the learning will not be effective. The learning process will not be effective, and I, as a student, I won't be able to understand what is he or she teaching. So that will affect my academic performance first. The essence or the context of what I am about to learn is not there. Second, the inspiration to continue. And we will say the quotation that, nakakatamad naman, parang hindi ko naman naiintindihan. That's the usual thing and the reality that we are experiencing as of the moment. Because there is no proper communication, and communication affects the relationship between the student and the professor.
As a student, communication skill of the teacher for their student is always the key in the classroom, and it can somehow affect the academic performance, whether success or failure of their students. Just like whenever my accounting teacher discuss about accounting, she uses accounting jargons that we're not familiar with, and she will not discuss what it means, and it is making us way more harder to understand the lesson because of that terminologies. So I think to cope up with those things, I need to research on my own so that I will have a failing grade.
Sabihin na natin na so far, wala naman ako nakikitang against or bad result with my communication skills sa aking mga estudyante. Kasi dinadaan ko sila sa diplomacy or diplomasya. So, sa pamamagitan nun, let's say for example, kasi kapag halimbawa kahit hindi naman online or face-to-face, basta may bigay ko lang yung the best instructions ko sa mga estudyante ko, and I always see to it na there are repetitions, inuulit ko, and kasi kapag maganda yung report nyo, ako as a teacher, at maganda yung report sa mga estudyante, parang I think wala akong nakikita any problem scenario. Kasi nga, nauunawaan ng bata. Kasi minsan may mga teacher na galit kapag ibigay ng instruction, yung parang yung hindi ma-approach, yung ibig sabihin yung ang hirap lapitan, yung nagpapahabol. So I'm not like that. As long as na mapapadali ko yung aking lessons, I try to be speak up kung ano yung kanilang problems, ano yung kanilang hindi naintindihan para maulit po. Tapos syempre minsan may konting sense of humor para kahit papaano ay ma-relax ang mga estudyante. Itong pandemic, akala nyo ba
so we don't have any friends to talk to each other. So I see to it that I encourage the student, even if we're not doing the virtual learning mode. So I have this note again in the module. So from then they will able to communicate with me. And also, I encourage them to use the applications. We have so many applications, so they can use the applications to correct their wordings when it comes to English example.
When pandemic starts and virtual class implement as an alternative learning for traditional face-to-face classes, as a student, it is really hard to adjust because everything has changed and it makes communication way more harder as there are unavoidable situations like slow internet connection, lack of experience in distance learning, and many more. So that is why I adjust myself towards this situation because I don't have a choice. For me, it lessened my self-confidence because I am afraid speaking while thinking if they hear my voice, is my voice clearly enough to understand what I'm saying, things like that. In my opinion, it was way more complicated virtual class to communicate than face-to-face class.
Personally, due to pandemic, I was able to recognize the digital side. The Zoom, the Skype, at the same time the Microsoft Teams, the Google Meet, I have appreciated those. And at the same time, I was able to communicate with them and it made me more flexible personally because while I am listening to them, I can counter-check the lesson. While I am listening to my professor, I can check it through online. And at the same time, I can also send a message to my classmates at the same time while having the class.
So I have mentioned earlier, we don't have much convo with the student because we are implementing through modular. So, like what I said, we just use the notes.
Itong pandemic, akala nyo ba student lang ang may angst or may flow sa ganitong virtual class? Siyempre ako din, personally, as a teacher, nagkaroon ako ng worry. Why? Kasi hindi naman ako techie. I'm old enough for this kind of mode of learning. I nagkaroon ng seminar regarding this, pero yung training hands-on, wala. So, kailangan through virtual lang in-explain sa amin. May hands-on napakadali para 1 hour. Siyempre, kapag ikaw ay hindi mo na linya yun, kagaya nyo na kayo ay mga techie, kayo ay mga pinanganak sa modern era, sa aming mga teacher na gano'n na medyo old na, ay nahihirapan na. So, kaya with the help of my co-teachers, my past student na tumutulong sa akin para lahat may cope ko, nawala yung aking agam-agam. So, akala ko hindi ko may bibigay sa mga estudyante ko. Yun ang aking naging dilema na akala ko magkakaroon ako ng problema, pero with the help, prayers, and sa tulong ng mga nagmamahal sa akin, ay nagawa ko may lampas or may sakatuparan na kahit online ay kaya ko din naman pala makipagsabay.
Actually, lately lang naman nag-virtual class. Konti na lang yung time namin na may experience ng online talaga, unlike yung mga lower year. Pero I have the chance to teach na mismo kasi practice teaching na kami ng 4th year. So, I'm the teacher na and then I'm talking with certain grade levels sa case ko grade 10 students. And I see na may mga questions or minsan may mga pagkakataon na yung students kahit hirap sila intindihin yung certain question or yung topic, ganyan, because available yung resources, they just search it and then they'll answer it. Pero ang maganda naman doon, they're really trying their best. Kasi sa classical, there is a rule of just English during the class. So, they are trying their best to speak on the kasi English subject naman yung tinuturo ko.
I may describe an effective communication if the speaker have given his or her information to the listener or to the audience, to his target audience. And might as well, the audience received it in the full content itself, the message itself. So I can say that if the speaker have given the message to the audience successfully, and then the audience was able to give a feedback about that, that's a good communication or successful communication.
for me, it is not how good or how fluent you speak a specific language. It is how you can relate and connect to your students.
Okay, communication is very important nowadays, especially in the online class. So as long as the students understand what the teacher says, for me, it's an effective communication. Why? You don't need to speak English fluently. You don't need to speak Tagalog fluently, as long as you have a good rapport, good, tawag dito, maganda yung senaryo mo, maganda yung pananaw mo sa buhay. Malinaw, maliwanag ang sasabihin mo sa mga bata. Para sa akin, effective communication na yun. So kaya nga mayroon tayong tinatawag na GC kapag gusto kong mag-badminton, kasi actually for students yun, ay para maibigay ko yung aking sinasabi, yung aking mga instruction. Kapag alam ko na medyo pangit or medyo halimbawa, yung medyo nagbibiruan na sa GC or what, na hindi naman related sa atin, ay nagbibigay na ako ng reminder na hindi ito GC para sa biruan, hindi ito GC para sa chismis. So sinasabi ko ng maayos para magkaroon tayo ng effective way of learning, effective communication. Hindi natin kailangang magmadali, hindi natin kailangang umagaw ng atensyon, basta maging simple lang tayo sa isa't isa, magkaroon lang tayo ng respect. Nauunawaan natin ang sinasabi ng teacher at saka nauunawaan ng teacher ang sinasagot ng mga estudyante. For me, it's a good and effective communication.
Check if your communication is effective. There should be a feedback. And that feedback will suffice whether that communication is effective or not. Kasi kapag ang sagot sa'yo, yung ganong klaseng situation, ineffective yung communication. But sometimes, yun nga, depende rin talaga sa kausap. So for me, effective communication is when you are completely and successfully delivering the things that you want to convey on that specific receiver, and then he or she has the ability to respond based on your answer. Hindi naman kailangan is mag-agree siya dun sa sinabi mo. Hindi ibig sabihin na hindi mo siya hindi mo siya napapayag dun sa certain way, hindi niya na naiintindihan. Baka ayaw niya lang talaga. So it doesn't count as an effective communication.
I would like to describe an effective communication when a person is communicating and they are exchanging ideas, thoughts, and they both listen to each other and give each other time to speak. Effective communication requires a person not only to exchange ideas but also to understand the emotion and intention of